In 2022, student journalist Theo Baker became the youngest ever recipient of a George Polk Award for his investigative report at Stanford Daily about allegations of misconduct in research co-authored by the then Stanford president. Now Baker is taking on another issue, the culture wars on his campus. In a recent article in The Atlantic, Baker writes, quote, "The Hamas invasion and the Israeli counter-invasion have fractured my university, a place typically less focused on geopolitics than on venture capital funding for the latest dorm-based tech startup. Extremism has swept through classrooms and dorms and is becoming normal for students to be harassed and intimidated for their faith, heritage, or appearance." Joining us right now is Theo Baker, a sophomore at Stanford University, who has created quite a following in a very short amount of time. Theo, it's great to have you on the broadcast this morning.
Well, thanks so much for having me. These are the sort of campus dispatches where I think it's important to be able to speak to people directly. So I look forward to talking about this a little more.
So Theo, tell us, you wrote this remarkably in-depth piece about all of the things that you have seen at Stanford University. Why don't we start with what you saw, but also the reaction to the piece thus far?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the reaction to the piece has just sort of proven how important it was, at least to me. There's been a lot of vitriol directed at me, tens of thousands of hate comments, and a lot of people sending death threats, a lot of people at Stanford telling me how evil and genocidal I must be, which of course sort of, misses the point entirely of talking about how our standards of discourse have been poisoned. I think it's really important for people to be able to recognize that there can be multiple issues that are important at the same time. There can be terrible things that are happening in Israel and Gaza, and also be terrible things in how we're talking about them at a school 7,500 miles away.
At one point in the piece, you talk about Richard Saller, who was the interim president, and I know a new president has just been announced, but you talk about sort of him starting out in a very sort of idealistic way, and a shift in just how hard it is to deal with these issues. What did you see?
Yeah, it was really interesting. I think I had access to Saller that I haven't really seen in other national media pieces, because I really started talking to him just before October 7th, I think 8 days before it was my first interview with him. And then I was sort of able to track it, through the middle, our interview, where he seemed a little bit more battered, a little bit more bruised by everything he'd gone through and the things that he was forced to sort of step back on. And then toward, the beginning of March, when we most recently spoke, it was clear his position had hardened. I think that was a few days after his house had been vandalized. A few days before, an effigy of him was covered in blood, talking about how Stanford is genocidal for not divesting in Israel, when, of course, Stanford does not actually have investments in Israel.
So what kind of enforcement is going on at Stanford right now? I mean, the thing that I think so many people who read a piece like this, and I've heard from Stanford alumni, and we hear from alumni of many of the big, both prestigious universities and others, that say, how is it possible that some of these types of behavior and activity is allowed to take place? Not so much that people shouldn't be able to speak out and say their piece, but in how it's done, the impact on folks, and things that may be beyond just speech itself.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really tricky bind, especially for Stanford. In California, we have something called the Leonard Law, which is not, present at other university campuses where, universities technically have more latitude to set standards of conduct than they actually have. The Leonard Law means that the same First Amendment protections apply to private universities in California as apply to public universities, which basically means that, the First Amendment standard is very high for actually being able to punish any sort of pure speech. Obviously there are exceptions, the sort of fighting words, pervasive harassment. These are things that are sort of tricky issues. Stanford told me that they had hired an outside counsel to deal specifically with that. What can they actually punish? But they haven't told me who the outside counsel is, despite repeated requests, and they won't really say what's actually happening with that. So there's not a ton of transparency, and it's really hard to see exactly how, these instances of harassment can be combated in a way that doesn't diminish students' rights, that doesn't infringe on the law, and also makes, what is supposed to be a purposeful community, a community that's centered around open exchange, actually capable of supporting its students.
We have seen alumni at a whole number of universities take to the airwaves and beyond, in some cases having the presidents of those universities ousted. The CEO, or I should say the president of your university, was ousted for different reasons on the back of your own reporting previously, but that had nothing to do with this. I'm curious, from the venture capital community, the business community, the wealthy alumni who have may or may not have influence at Stanford, what you hear.
Yeah, I mean, the backroom conversations are sort of the most interesting ones. Richard Saller, who was our interim president, was before the dean of the Humanities and Sciences School, which is our largest school, I believe, by a significant margin. And, in that capacity, he did a lot of fundraising. So he has personal connections with some of these donors. And I think, one of the things that we've really seen at Stanford is a lot of flip-flopping back and forth. There's not a lot of certainty with the moves. There's not a lot of certainty with the policies. There's not a lot of certainty what's going to happen next. So I think that's one place where, donors and alumni are trying to exert their influence, to make Stanford sort of come down on one side or the other, to make it commit in one way or another to a stance. I think that's been evolving throughout this entire conflict. We'll see where it continues to go, right. But I'm certain that that's one place where people are focusing their energy.
But do you hear from either folks around the big tech companies or the big venture capitalists? And by the way, there's a split even there about free speech. You're seeing it in social media and online and elsewhere. But a lot of students, obviously, inside Stanford, and this has a huge impact, I think, ultimately on tech and other things, graduate from Stanford and go on to work at these other places. And it seems like what's happening at Stanford can also be considered a microcosm of some of the things that's happening inside some of these companies' offices and on Slack channels and the like.
Absolutely. And a lot of these people, are tech people. I discussed my computer science section leader who is, going to go on and do computer science research. One of the people who might have gotten cut out of the article, I don't even remember at this point, was an ethics minor with a job at IBM who was threatening other students. There are a lot of certainly, culture wars that are going to happen inside these companies, some internal reckoning. But it's also important to note that unlike a lot of these East Coast institutions that we've been talking about, Stanford just has not been engaged in this political activism scene in recent years. It has a history of it back in Vietnam. There were buildings getting occupied. Hubert Humphrey in 1967 was rushed by 300 Stanford students. The Secret Service had to hold them back. But in recent years, the biggest protests have been over the school's so-called war on fun. So I think the tech community is really reckoning with this for the first time. And they're, obviously on the East Coast, it's also sort of unprecedented what's been happening inside communities since October 7th. But I think there's a little bit more, basis for, understanding how this is happening to communities. And on the West Coast, it just feels like it's come, out of the sky from left field.